chance you can do something amazing to feel your passion blazing and shine.
Paint with every vision, dance in new directions, explode to new heights in your mind.
I will rise up with you today.
Lift up my voice.
Lift up my voice and boldly say, we are the ones we've been waiting for.
Well, greetings. Hello, everyone, and welcome to AGNT Speaks, where each week we come together as your Agent Advisory Council to discuss conversations about spiritual principles as it relates to the world around us, the world in us, the world through us. I am your host, Reverend Deborah Johnson with Innerlight Ministries, and I come to you from the Santa Cruz area of California with a passion for awakening mindfulness, cultivating care, and inspiring action. I am so excited today to be sharing this time with my friend, my colleague, Reverend Dr. Edward Viljoen, who is the spiritual director of the Centers for Spiritual Living in Santa Rosa for, I know, at least 25 years, probably 26, 27 by now. And more recently, he has become the spiritual director of the entire Centers for Spiritual Living. I welcome him. We're going to have a conversation, and we're going to start off with just a little bit of centering, a little bit of meditation. And I am going to welcome you, Reverend Edward. Would you like to just get us started?
Yes, thank you. I'm so delighted to see you. What a wonderful, good thing for me today to be with you. You know how we love to talk, so I'm looking forward.
We do love to do that.
And so it is so appropriate for us to just take a moment, even when excited and even when anticipating something wonderful, to pause and to acknowledge that from which everything comes, from which all life and love and joy and peace arises. It is all life, the living Spirit Almighty. And in recognizing it as the source for each other and for our world, something beautiful happens. The laying open of a field of endless possibility, of creativity. And so I trust that now. I know that as we intend together to have an uplifting learning experience, a dialogue, that already that is available for us. So I move forward along with my colleague and with all of our viewers into this experience with open heart and with readiness. And so it is. Amen.
So it is. Well, thank you, Reverend Edward.
Thank you.
You know, you and I have had many conversations.
Yes, for a long time about just about everything.
Just about everything, for sure.
Yeah, and all of the emerging needs for us spiritual students as the world changes rapidly around us, causing us to become more aware of our interconnectivity, our relationship to each other, our responsibilities both in the social realm and in the spiritual realm. Oh my goodness! And we have often said, we should have recorded that conversation.
Yes. So this one is recorded.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, this one most definitely is. You know, as you speak of these, you know, emerging themes, there's a phrase in the Bible from the book of Esther, you know, for such a time as this. And I really do believe that we are at this truly unprecedented moment in history, that everything about us, literally, you know, every hurt, every pain, our historical backgrounds, our ancestral wisdom, our degrees, if we had formal education, the heartaches, all of it come together for our human capital to bring at this moment that I think is causing or calling for a particular kind of courage and a particular kind of bravery to stand in our authenticity and to speak truth into power and power into truth.
Yeah. And to a new emerging realization is I have to bring all of myself.
Yes.
My bad choices, my good choices, my
Exactly.
good learning, my wrong learning. And I
That's
may
my
have to
point.
deconstruct some things. I may have to I may find that I really don't know as much as I thought I knew.
No kidding.
Right? You know, how did I get here? How did I get to where I am? I thought I was in control.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and one of the things that I love talking to you about is we talk about that relationship between the micro and the macro. That it isn't just about our individual consciousness, but it's also about our collective consciousness.
Yes.
And the way in those are just mirrors and reflections of each other. They are really not two different things. That what we see in the outer world is just our inner world magnified, kind of supersized, and everything within us is just a microcosm, you know, of the whole.
I know. And how now, I was just I read an article, but I can't find it. I'd rather talk to you. How now the ethical use of our spiritual learning now is more elevated and more important than ever. How I can't just sit where I am and be aware of my needs. Now the needs of the divine community, the community of all life, and our interrelatedness has a focus that is really coming clear now. How do we care about each other? And how does if my wellness and my goodness and takes away from anybody, what do I need to do to adjust that? So the shift from the focus on me is happening. It's happening.
Yes. And I'm paying particular attention to how spiritual principles are just principles and how they are no respecter of persons, that they will respond equally for any body and for any use and purpose. That's what's really showing me right now, that it isn't necessarily what you believe, but it's the depth and the intensity of your belief that makes it so for you.
Right.
And that whatever it is that you impress upon your subconscious mind enough, your conscious mind accepts as true, whether it's actually true or not. Right. Our phrase about you have to mind your mind. Oh, baby.
Right. And so that brings that it makes it even more compelling that I have a right relationship with my source.
That's right.
What am I rooted in when I'm impressing, when I'm creating? If I am not rooted in interconnectivity, oneness, and love, I might very easily start thinking I'm going to go into this to get something for nothing, for me alone.
Yes.
And I might even have some success in that. So there's an ethics emerging. What is the spiritual imperative of a student of metaphysics? What ought we to do or not do?
Right. And be paying close attention to it, because our every thought is a vote.
Yes.
Our every thought is in order. It might as well be like a little drive-through fast food, where every time we think something, we're saying to the universe, that's what I want to have. Regardless of whether we actually want it or not, it's the intensity. When I speak, I said, it's like trending. When something is trending, it doesn't matter whether it's pro or con. It's just that many people are focusing their attention there. And I am not saying being Pollyannish and don't pay attention to what's going on. I'm just saying, where is your energy going? Can people tell what you stand for and not just what you stand against? See, because if we're spending all of our time fighting and demonizing the ones we think that are demonizing, hating the ones we think that are hating, judging the ones that we think are judging, that's more just judgment. It's incumbent upon us now to calibrate up to higher levels and frequencies, to tune in to higher vibrations and dare to live there.
Yeah, and that you know, that thing about what am I against is so powerful, because in the caring for our community, to start to look into who have I excluded, who have I separated myself from, who do I not care about?
Yes.
And because I can easily demonize, separate them, other them, so that when I want to up-level my care for the world, I might start beginning to look at, where have I not cared?
Yes.
Where have I declared myself separate from that? Oh my goodness. And I love that trending. What's trending in my consciousness?
Exactly.
What gets the propensity, the bulk of my thinking? I think in Ernest Holmes and Willis Kinnear's book, A New Design for Living, they give that image. If at the end of the day you could sort out all of your thoughts, you know, put them on a scale, where's the weight gonna go? And I've always found that a fun way to think about it.
Yes.
I also like the image of like some kind of mystical video camera. Remember video cameras? That is recording everything, like a body cam. Like at the end of the day, how much dignity am I going to feel reviewing that? Did I have any agency when I was saying in my silent mind what I said about somebody?
Yes, for
Can
sure.
I improve?
Yeah. No, you've taken some courses and workshops with me. And there's one in particular that I would like to invite everybody to. It's going to start up actually a week from today. That'll be on October the 20th at 4 p.m. And it's cultivating the consciousness of inclusion, cultivating the consciousness of inclusion. I did it a little earlier in the year for the Agape communities. A lot of new thought groups are coming together and are participating in that. Last week, we had Reverend David Alexander from Atlanta on, and he's one of the facilitators in this. I've got about 20 colleagues, people such as yourself, who are helping in the learning pods. And I just want to encourage everybody, if you are serious about this idea of inclusion, study. And the way that we do the program, it's at all levels. So you can do a foundational level, intermediate level, a more advanced level with your learning pods and your assignments. You can get it through innerlightministries.com, our website, our Facebook. It's tiny URL, unmasking. Inclusion is the tiny URL. And I just want to encourage everybody, let's come together as community to figure this stuff out.
You know what's great about this program is if you live in a remote area where you don't have a lot of additional people who are interested or aware of the practice, now you have a community. Or if, for example, you live in a monochromatic community that's maybe all of a certain age or a certain gender or a certain, and you are struggling with how do we do it because we don't have a base of diversity to draw from, this is going to help.
Yes.
And what also I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, is if you can't make all the sessions, you can still get the material.
Yes, you can still get the material. It's all videotaped. And if your spiritual community or some organization that you would like to have participate in it, you can partner with us. We'll give you a special discount code and your organization can get 20% of the registrations that come in with your code.
Yeah.
So it's a win-win for everybody, for our movement to start really doing both the inner work as well as the outer work to move the dial forward.
Yes. So, obviously I sound like a fan. Yeah, I sound like I'm doing a public service announcement because our community did do exactly what you said. And it's one of the ways that, when we ask ourselves, what is ours to do? It's like, look around for the people who are doing it and get involved. and learn. So I'm one of the people who is getting some of the material afterwards, because it doesn't fit my schedule, but I'm not being left out.
Yes.
So that's what's wonderful about it. So I'm thrilled that we're part of it.
Yeah. And, Reverend Edward, you come from South Africa. And I know we've had some conversations sometimes about what you bring to bear in your perspective, in parallels that you see from your experience growing up in South Africa, things that you've been surprised about, like in the United States. You have such a unique background. Would you mind just sharing any insights that you have from your experience growing up in South Africa?
Yes, absolutely. Live in another country will open up all sorts of views into your place where you're living to. And when I moved from South Africa to the United States, I had in my mind that I was coming to the place of equality, equity, inclusion, and diversity. That's how I thought it was. And in reality, the difference between South Africa, where it's sort of blatant discrimination and separating of people by force during my growing up, in the United States, it was sort of, I realized quickly, it was covert. So I learned quite quickly that, well, there's something going on here that's under the radar that's pretty much similar to where I came from.
Yes.
Yeah. And so when I drove across the nation with a friend of mine, a black friend of mine, that's when I realized just how dangerous the United States was in our lifetime for people who are not white. And it was an alarming realization to me. You know how it is? You think you can escape your problems by relocating? So no. And part of the realization for me, that the good part of it was that the language of inclusion and deconstructing racism was already emerging in the United States in a way that it wasn't available to me in South Africa. So I had to start to learn, like I said earlier, I had to learn what I didn't know.
Yes.
I didn't know how my upbringing had formed my consciousness.
Yes.
And so I had to unpack that, and I went through tremendous pain to realize, I can imagine, it's like if somebody thought all their life that the sun went around the earth, to get the evidence one day that it's not so, it's disorienting. Yeah.
Yes. And this piece that you're talking about is, to me, honestly, where the rubber hits the road. Because, in psychology, we have this thing called cognitive dissonance. Cognition, what we know, and dissonance when things don't quite line up. And our minds won't let us stay in this cognitive dissonance. So, for example, if I think I don't like gay people and I don't like you, if I think I don't like gay people, you're gay and I like you, now I'm in a state of cognitive dissonance. Either I have to change my mind about not liking all gay people, or you're not quite as gay as the rest of them. I have to carve out some kind of exclusion. And we're in this place where by identity, we think we're good. Spiritually speaking, that's true. But where we get these racial identities and ethnic identities that say just by virtue of being in this racial group, we're right, or we're the best, or, our way is the way that everybody should have it. Correct. And then when you come up against information that challenges that, it really puts you in a pickle.
It puts you in a pickle, yeah. Because
it's disorienting.
Because if the whole world is for you, in your favor, why would you deconstruct that? And so I think, it's difficult to have a sense of that until a person maybe has an experience of being marginalized in a different arena, and then they can see it. Like, I think gay, lesbian, transgender people may have insight to it somewhat, because the world is, predominantly for white people, and the world is also predominantly for heterosexuals.
Right.
So there is a parallel. They're not the same, I understand, but it can give a look into it. So if you're walking down the street and every message of every billboard affirms you,
Right.
what's in it for you to deconstruct it? So it takes an effort to lean into your discomfort and learn things that are going to put you in a pickle.
Right.
I mean, who wants to sign up to be in a pickle? I don't.
Well, and see, the thing is, what I try to explain to people in the way that we do our workshops is not shaming or blaming,
Right.
but to say that we all have privilege.
Yes.
Let's just learn what it is and learn how to share it.
Yes.
Because part of this not knowing and not seeing, that's part of the construct.
Yes.
If we look around, and for those of us who are able-bodied, we don't even think about it.
Yeah.
Because we don't have to, because all of society is created. There are people who hear and who can see, who can talk, who can move around, certain dexterity and all of the rest of that. So it's easy to become very indifferent
Yes.
to anybody that doesn't have those things, because it is so assumptive.
Yes.
It is as assumptive as the other things that you were talking about there. And yet, if you've ever been on crutches or been in a cast or something like that, you suddenly notice the infrastructure you didn't notice before. You suddenly notice those steps. You suddenly notice how high something is. And it puts you at this different place of awareness. And that's not the time for us to get ashamed. That's the time to go, well, you know what? It couldn't hurt to have a ramp over here.
Right. Well, you're very generous, because the way you lead people is so generous, and you're right. You don't blame and shame them. And a person might experience grief when they come to the realization of, oh my God, what have I thought?
Yes. And here's the thing about that grief, Edward, is that the grief goes both ways.
Yes.
And I want everybody to really listen to what I'm saying here, because it was an insight I got in my prison outreach work. We grieve not only the things that we had and we lost, but sometimes I think the greater grief is grieving what we didn't have. Let me give you an example. If I have a father that I grew up with and he died, that's one kind of a loss.
Yes.
If I have a father that I never met, I can grieve that just as much. And the pain of never having met him can be as great or not greater than the pain of if I had him and lost him. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that when I think about the Black Lives Matter marches, for example, it was the culmination of this kind of grief that you're talking about. It was not only that Black Lives Matter, but so many white people saying, we're done with this white supremacy. We are done with this. And whatever benefits or whatever, we're sorry that this has been going on. We're sorry that we've been prioritized. We're sorry that we've allowed all of this to go on, and it has to change. And I know the Black folks that were marching and the people of color, theirs wasn't so much, we've let this stuff go on, but when is America going to be America to us? When are we going to be safe? Grieving the loss of the promise of the freedom that we have yet to experience. But when it all comes together with the intention of community, with the intention, it takes everybody.
Yes.
It takes those who had privilege, those who didn't have the privilege, to all come together.
And it also takes not getting comfortable. Oh, the change already happened. No, it did. It's not finished, right? It's an ongoing. And so now to keep the momentum, that's why I love that your class is available, because it's like very easy for me. Okay, I read the book. Now I go back to not doing. So I see how important it is to keep on going and keep on learning, to be in the consciousness of expansion, because it's very easy.
Yes, it's very, very easy to get complacent. It's very, very easy to ignore and to forget. But you know something? When we really think about it, and I know as a spiritual teacher, I get this all the time. When people say, oh, well, you know, forgiveness is hard, you know, or this stuff is hard. And I have to remind them, I said, you know what? Not forgiving isn't any easier.
Correct. It's worse.
Yeah. You didn't expend less energy not forgiving.
Yeah, you're not getting any better on the inside while you're carrying that around. I know. It's so unfair.
You know, so it's like you're going to use your energy somehow or another. You might as well use it towards something that is a benefit, towards something that is a blessing. Because in the long run, there really is only one of us here, that whatever happens to any of us is happening to all of us. It reminds me of this cartoon sketch that used to be a part of the trainings in the Awakening the Dreamer trainings. I'm also on the board of directors of the Pachamama Alliance, and we work with indigenous tribes to save the rainforest and the sacred headwaters in the Amazon, and work with industrialized societies and consciousness to shift the demand that we have for this massive, you know, consumerism. And in this cartoon, it has a boat, like a rowboat kind of thing in the water, and it's tilted like this. So you can see there's a hole in the bottom of the boat. That's the side that's tilted. And the people on that side are busy trying to bail out the water and bail out the water. And the people on the boat that's like up at the top, they're looking down, and the caption reads, I'm so glad the hole isn't on our side of the boat. It's just perfect.
Right?
It's just perfect. No, if there's a hole in the boat,
it's going down.
We're all in trouble.
And you know, I was thinking about that.
It doesn't matter which side of the boat it's on.
And it doesn't matter that it's difficult to do the work to get done. Like that forgiveness work you're talking about, it caused me to think about something in the Bhagavad Gita. There's this beautiful phrase, I'll say it in my own words, something like, something that's bitter in the beginning ends up being sweet at the end.
Yes.
And oftentimes things that are sweet in the beginning end up being bitter at the end.
Yes.
And so like the sweetness of not doing this work, we think.
Yes.
The bitter part is we're going down with the whole boat.
I often say that our biggest malpractice is inconsistency.
Oh, yes.
That's our biggest spiritual malpractice. And I would like to invite everybody on that journey of just taking whatever it is that you know. Like Oprah's, what do you know for sure? Just taking that and standing on that unwaveringly and applying it everywhere. Everywhere. If you know that love heals, just stand on that. Stand on that in your home, in your politics, at work. If you know that the truth always comes to light, just stand on that. Like just whatever you know, unwaveringly stand there.
Yes, absolutely.
Stand there.
And you know, as you're speaking, I'm thinking about that, and trust that there is an agent in you that is responding even now to that sure stand that you're taking.
Yes.
Sometimes I get wrapped up in, this is too big for me to do. Not really, no. It's what you're saying. Stand in it and then trust consciousness
Yes.
to do the heavy lifting, to provide the direction, to cause the connections, to keep on instructing us from within. Trust consciousness is something that I have to come back to frequently.
Yes. There's we'll start wrapping this up now, but there's that whole concept of faith. And how Jesus describes it. And there's a part of his formula that people forget, where he says, if you have faith and do not doubt, and do not doubt. And we misunderstand that because we think doubt means don't question or be intransigent in some sort of way, or don't entertain alternatives. No, the root word in Greek of that word doubt is to separate. That literally is the root of the word doubt that's used in scripture in the New Testament, is to separate. And, you know, we always say the only thing that needs to be healed is just the sense of separation. So have faith and do not doubt doesn't mean that you don't pay attention to things that you don't know. Don't separate from what you do know. That's when we start to lose it. So whether we're talking about the love in your home, whether we're talking about what's going on in the social political arena, what you know, stand on that and do not doubt.
See, every time I talk to you, I have to take notes because I'm writing down things that are gonna come in my next message, in my next blog, you know. So I love talking to you. What an excellent teaching. Do not separate from what you know. Like in India, the guru the ashram I was visiting, he said, nothing is worth losing your center of peace for. And I just thought of that right now. Do not separate from what you do not, from what you know.
You know, I think I was born a metaphysician.
I think so.
My favorite story was the carrot seed. And it's this little story about this kid. And the refrain keeps coming up. I heard the musical version is, I watered it, I pulled the weeds, carrots grow from carrot seeds. And everybody's trying to tell him why it's not going to work, why it's not going to happen. And the kid just keeps coming back. I watered it, I pulled the weeds, carrots come from carrot seeds. So, like, what? Don't waver from what it is that you do know. I don't care what it looks like that anybody else is doing out there. Well, you know, I could talk to you forever. And unfortunately, our show's only about a half an hour.
Okay.
I want to join people again. If you're interested in the class that we've been talking about, it's a 5-week workshop. It's October the 20th through November the 17th. It's via Zoom. And it's 4 p.m. That's Pacific time, although everything is, in fact, recorded. It's a cross-section. I invited 15 different spiritual communities to participate in the New Thought movement, but there's all kinds of groups that are in there. We welcome you. You can find it at innerlightministries.com or with the tiny URL, Unmasking Inclusion is what it's called. So I'd like to thank you for joining us today, and we will see you next week with AGNT Speaks. I've had the privilege of being the host the past 2 weeks. I'll actually be the guest next week. You can catch us live right here on the AGNT Facebook page or in the Zoom room that's available at later dates on YouTube. You can learn more about us by going to our website, agent.today. You can donate there. You can find out about our programs, learn how to become a member. You can learn more about our spiritual leaders and about different spiritual communities that you might want to participate in. And on that note, I say thank you. It's always good speaking to you. Peace and blessings to everyone.
Thank you so much. Peace and blessings, everyone.
Thank you, Reverend Edward.